A Major League Baseball season that started 1 week late under the storm clouds of a lockout is now near its pinnacle, just a few hours away from Game 1 of the World Series. Got the 87-win surprise Philadelphia Phillies at the 106-win Houston Astros in the Fall Classic for the fourth time in 6 years. So you've got expanded playoffs, new sponsorships, streaming, and sports gambling. How have they impacted the business of baseball? I touched all those bases with MLB Chief Revenue Officer Noah Garden earlier today.
The great news for us is we were able to come to a great agreement with the players and the Players Association. We played a full season, and which is culminating now in a really exciting way, right? You take a look at the expanded postseason. I'll tell you that from our perspective, overwhelming yes, right? The goal of that was to keep more fan bases active for a longer period of time. September, we saw some of the best attendance numbers in September that we've seen in almost as long as I've been here. And, that's attributable to all these fan bases that are having more of an opportunity to compete for some of these coveted spots in the postseason. And, listen, you're seeing it tonight. You've got a team that, if not for that expanded postseason, may not be there today. And they're there. They're playing well. They're exciting. That fan base is rabid. And we got an amazing matchup that we're going to see the next week and a half.
Nobody had Philly headed this far. The thought prevailing wisdom out there is you needed New York or LA for a massive television audience. What do you make of that?
Listen, everybody always points to those sorts of things. I mean, you see the numbers, right? You see the numbers throughout our expanded wild card. You see the numbers, the division series and on, our ratings are up. And if you've, watched, as I know you have, some of these games, I mean, those fan bases, first of all, in Houston, they're always there. They've been supporting that team forever. They're rabid. It's exciting. Every time I'm there, my new watch tells me the sound is going to make me deaf and the decibels are too loud. And listen, it's shining through in Philadelphia too. I've got to be in both places, and the excitement, I mean, it's taken over the entire town. And so, we're excited by the matchup. It's two amazing markets, and I think it's going to be a great series.
Let's talk about some of the television deals. Now, you've been in streaming before anyone. MLB.TV was 20 years really ahead of the game, but new partnerships with, of course, Apple TV and with Peacock. How successful were they, and do you imagine more streaming in the future?
Yeah, it's interesting. I started in baseball on the MLB.com side. So, I was there in 2002 when we were streaming, when Netflix was still sort of sending DVDs, door to door. So we were early for sure. And I don't think anybody really understood back then what it was going to be today. And I'm sure in 20 years, it'll look as different then as it does now to us looking back. I'll tell you that listen, it's been increasingly hard to reach our fans, right? Our fans, even within the linear bundle, distribution has been a challenge. And fans, whether they're young or old now, want to watch content and where they are. And some are streaming and some are leaning back on their couch and watching the TV in front of them. And, we used to say back then at MLB.com, if it has a plug or a battery, we should be on it, right? And, we live by that today. And so we'll continue to go where our fans are and hopefully deliver a world-class product that we can be proud of and they can enjoy. And, knock on wood, these deals with Apple and Peacock this year were a nod to both a little different, quite frankly. Peacock was interesting in the sense that they wanted sort of this earlier time frame that was really earlier than we'd started games in the past, other than maybe one game in Boston during the marathon. And, we weren't sure what to expect from that, but overwhelming success. The time slot was great. Players like playing earlier. They've done an absolutely fantastic job. Apple, just take a step back. We've been partners with Apple forever. Right. We were the first to stream on their iPhone, first to stream on their iPad. We were on stage with them almost every single release. Right. This is an extension of a long-standing close relationship that we've had with them. We've had the number one sports app on there. So, it just made a tremendous amount of sense for us. And we reached just a lot of fans. And, listen, they're seeing a lot of the same halo effect that sports has traditionally brought to other content too. What they're saying is it's bringing people in their ecosystem that they've not seen before. And it's certainly from the numbers perspective, we're seeing, more eyeballs than I thought we'd see. So great test, more to come. But it doesn't mean that the success on streaming is going to, take us away from linear or otherwise, right?
From a numbers perspective, how important was it to stay away from the NFL on the World Series schedule?
You know what? Listen, not really important. Look at what we did in wild card this year, right? We were on wild card on a weekend when there was a lot of sports. There were some great college football games. There was NFL, and look at the ratings that we had, and that continued into the DS. So when we do our schedule, it's really not about put it based on other content that's out there. It's really on when we think most of our fans are going to be able to watch the games and cheer on their favorite team. And I think that's the way you've seen it played out.
Like every professional sport, the tie-in with sports gambling is essential in terms of growth, in terms of reaching a younger demographic. Can you talk about how that has helped baseball grow and get younger?
Yeah, listen, I think we're sort of in the early stages. I'm not sure we're fully materialized on that effort yet, but I would say that that's the goal, right? The goal was never about like how much money you're going to make from sports gambling. It was really about engagement, right? If people are engaged for longer periods of time, they're going to watch the game for a longer period of time. That's going to adhere to the benefit of television ratings. It's going to advertising, all the things that we look at when we're trying to create a successful business. I would still say we have more to come. It's been great. Right there, it's doing exactly what we thought, but at the same time, we still need to innovate in the way people gamble. We still need to provide more content to that section of our fans and more data, and that's where you're going to start to see alternative broadcasts. We have a family product. We're committed on our main feed, so to say, to continue to not over gamblify it, right? To not make sure we're creating all that content for such a distinct audience. That's the beauty of streaming too, right? You can have all these different feeds and address different types of fans. And so you're going to see us get more aggressive in that space, providing, different types of broadcast to those fans, and most importantly, we're going to innovate on the way you can bet on different things within the game.
Let's touch on attendance quickly. Down a bit still from 2019 pre-pandemic, up from last year. How do you view it? Are there things you can do to evolve the game that would juice attendance? Do you watch things like the Savannah Bananas and how they're changing the product a little bit?
Listen, I love the Savannah Bananas, right? It's sort of like it's just fun to watch. I'll tell you, attendance is funny. I'm very encouraged by attendance this year. I mean, if you think about it, we went into this year, as we discussed earlier, sort of in the, tail end of the pandemic. If it was the tail end, who knows? But people were still afraid to get out. And you saw that in the numbers early on. Yep. From that time to where we are today, we saw some of our best numbers in the September timeframe. We continued to make up the ground that we lost early throughout the entire season. And, from a trajectory standpoint, I couldn't be really more pleased where we are. So I think, we ended on a strong note. We had a great postseason, looking forward to next year. And, I think headed in the right direction for sure.
Seana, I just have to take issue with one thing Noah said there. I really think it was intentional that they stayed away from the NFL Sundays. It's the first time since 1947 that there was no planned Sunday World Series games. And the head of Fox Sports programming says, obviously, we didn't want to go head to head with the NFL on multiple nights, but we won't stick on that too much. I know you have a horse in this race. Who you got?
I do. Obviously, the Phillies, my hometown. There's so much excitement going on in the city right now around Bryce Harper and also with Kyle Schwarber. Schwarberfest going on at Wawa. The city is so excited. We just heard just about the excitement surrounding the game ahead of this series. Dave, I hope you're with me and rooting for the Phillies. Can you do it?
100%.
Okay.
I want Bryce Harper to win a World Series. I think he's great for the game. Love the swagger.
I know. It is about time that Bryce Harper did win.